In the last few weeks, many issues have hogged headlines in the news sphere of our country. For instance, the Gyanvapi case, the mandir masjid debate, the Nupur Sharma episode, and the more recent Udaipur beheading amongst others. While these issues have been discussed at length by our media, the media's role in reporting these events is often pushed to the back burner. Many mainstream media organizations, especially TV channels, have virtually taken sides and done spiteful reporting to spread propaganda for vested interests. Is the Indian media playing the role of a watchdog? Is the fourth estate in the world's largest democracy crumbling?
To tell the truth and shame the devil is the responsibility of a journalist, and it is the responsibility of the media and the journalism. So, journalists should question fearlessly. Journalists should tell the truth to the people, talk truth to the power, and shame the devil, whosoever he is, whatever position he is holding. But it is our responsibility ultimately, and to become the voice of the voiceless.
Our television newsrooms, and I don't think in any other part of the world do we have newsrooms so shrill and so much aping social media. So what does it do? So you generate so much of outrage by fielding different people in a talk show, and people hate each other. They are given the opportunity to come out with the most vitriolic statements against another person who disagrees with you. Nupur Sharma is a product of this new business model in which the social media tactics to keep profit much above anything else, anything good in this world, is adopted and zealously adopted by the media groups.
While the media constantly does stories asking questions to the powers that be, the moot point is whether our media is holding itself accountable. Since when did our media turn from being the bearer of facts and truth to being the harbinger of propaganda?
The crux of the media ethics is that you will have to defend the truth, not the orchestrated truth. The government, they have their own agenda for remaining in power by bringing division in the society on the religious line. That is not acceptable, and journalism should not anyway involve with such agenda of the ruling classes.
Let's take the normal TV debates on Indian television. I mean, it's like I don't want to use difficult words, but it's like a circus. People just come and yell at each other, say bad things. Some of them are very vicious, others even more so. This is not journalism. For me, journalism is the truth is the holy grail. Ethics is the holy grail of journalism. Now, if you start tearing at that holy grail, then what are you doing?
The culture that we have in the television newsrooms, in which it has borrowed blindly a business model, if I may, of social media. That is to create outrage. To create outrage in the sense of making a profit out of outrage and peddling hate. The function of the media essentially used to be different. That it placed public good, welfare of the people had to be given a higher priority than the profit that it's going to make doing whatever it does.
Peddling lies, spewing venom, offering a platform to hate mongers in the name of debates, and raising TRPs by endangering democracy are the key characteristics of some mainstream TV news channels today. Who gives patronage to these news channels? And why are media houses doing propaganda journalism in the name of reporting? It all boils down to two questions. Who controls our media? Who funds our media?
I think to a large extent the media is used by the ruling establishment and the ideology that it holds to provide legitimacy for whatever they're doing and to control the narrative. And they do it vigorously with great focus and They ensure that there is no departure in the channels that matter or the media outlets that matter, saying the same thing. I mean, if you remember the last few days, we have seen a burst of violence and very intense, immersive coverage by the TV channels. That's about how the brick batting resulted in police retaliation. So the narrative for the state is that brick batting is evil, and invariably what happens that the camera will only show the people throwing bricks, not the reason why they're throwing bricks.
कोई आज महंगाई की बात नहीं कर रहा है, कोई आज ये बात नहीं कर रहा है कि देश में तेल के शॉर्टेज हो रहे हैं, कोई इस बात की बात नहीं कर रहा है कि नौकरियां नहीं है, कोई कोयला के शॉर्टेज की बात नहीं कर रहा है। तो सबको एक आसान तरीका है, गेस्ट बुलाइए, 3-4 गेस्ट बुलाइए, 2 मुसलमान बुलाइए, 2-3 हिंदू बुलाइए, कुछ नेता बुलाइए और डिबेट करा दीजिए। और उसमें क्या, उसमें झगड़ा होगा, उसमें इसी तरह की बातें होगी, माहौल खराब होगा और देश तो इसी तरह चल रहा है। अब इसमें तो आप कोई पॉजिटिव ढूंढना नहीं चाहेंगे। मीडिया को तो खुद ही अपने अंदर झांकना चाहिए।
A media personality should feel delighted and thrilled if he is talking sense to power, if he is questioning those people in power, if he has the moral courage to do that. And on the other hand, by surrendering their character, surrendering themselves to those people in power and taking all kinds of things that they tell these people as gold dust, these people as a community have done so much injustice to the institution called journalism.
The disgraceful fall of some of our big media houses, from being the watchdogs of democracy to the lapdogs of the ruling dispensation, will be consigned to the annals of history. Many journalists say the government's informal shadow control of the press must stop before it's too late.
Who runs the show in India? It's an extra constitutional authority called the RSS that runs the show in India. And you look at what's happening in India's most populous state, where one of RSS darling politicians is in power. What does he do? He does he is supposed to play the role of the executive, or he is supposed to consult the legislature before he does something. He is doing what the executive has to do. He is doing what the legislature has to do. He is doing what the judiciary has to do. He has encroached onto all pillars of our governance, and he has taken away the rights from other people to do that, and he has buried rule of law. This is what you call fascism, and this is what is being celebrated in the media as an ideal punishment. And for what?
सरकार ने उसको थोड़ा इधर उधर कर थोड़ा मदद किया और सारा मीडिया, बड़ा मीडिया हाउस वाला चुप हो गया। तो आप देखिए लास्ट 8 to 10 years सारा देश में बहुत सारे मीडिया वालों को मारा गया है, हत्या कर दिया गया है, और उसका साथ साथ atrocity हुआ है।
Many journalists feel the advertisement model of news is to be blamed. The news organizations that toe the line of the ruling establishment are presented with massive government ads, and those that are adversarial face action. This carrot and stick approach seems to be the biggest problem facing the free press in India today.
Media doesn't give you returns till the time you're on the right side of the party in power. This has become more so in the last 8 or 10 years. The private sector advertising has come down dramatically. Many of the channels rely entirely on the state to keep them going, and that is the reason it makes a lot of commercial sense to be on the right side of the government, because you also get viewership. So you become part of a certain ecosystem. 5-6 months back, the editors of Guild of India sent a fact-finding team to Tripura, and the reason was there was a violence which happened. So I, as part of the team, began to speak with some of the editors and journalists who were there, and we came to the safe conclusion that there is no support from the private sector or from any other place for the publication to survive, whether it is TV or whether it is a newspaper, whether it is whatever. The circulations are going down and the costs are whatever they are, and they have to rely entirely on state government's advertising budget. And state government's advertising budget is no longer neutral to what position you hold. It has to be identified closely with the ideology of the state. So invariably you have TV channels and newspapers saying practically everything that the party in power really wants.
Government also, on the other hand, not helping which the media, small and medium newspaper or other media. They are giving most of the advertisement, most of the government revenue. These are big media. They are not helping. Even those newspaper and TV channel and digital media which are very critical of the government is not issuing, advertisement is there.
The paid model of ads and all that, and ads. You knew that you paid an ad and then you got your stuff done. We are living through a period where it is going to be tumultuous. But I think if 4 or 5 or 6 people just stand up and say, no, we will do good journalism, then I think people will come. And the other thing I'm seeing is that a lot of good journalism is coming out of small communities. They may not have a business model yet, but I think this kind of journalism is coming.
The statutory self-regulatory watchdogs of the press, like the Press Council of India, are toothless when it comes to regulating the media. These bodies, at the most, can investigate an issue, register their protest, and warn or admonish erring news organizations or journalists. But it hardly has any powers to enforce strict action or impose any penalty on individual journalists or publications.
The Press Council of India is a statutory body. They can do something, but look at how it has been treated. I mean, there's been no appointment of chairman for so long. Editors Guild is not a statutory body, although it is just largely issues statements and it talks about improving the standards and quality of journalism and things like that. I mean, but how many really listen?
Press Council of India is there. If they have, the intention, good intention, they want to regulate media in ethical line, they can, amend this Press Council Act and make this Press Council a vibrant, media regulating body, which can contribute for the proliferation of democracy in this country. But government is not doing so. They do not have agenda like this. Their agenda is divisive agenda. By pursuing the divisive agenda, they want to remain in power for long. Unfortunately, the media of this country has taken a very unprecedented, role, which will be written in the history of media in the country during this crucial time.
Regulations have to be done, but any body that Press Council of India used to be so powerful at one point of time, and whatever they said used to be taken very seriously. And so, what is this government doing? If they have a new entity that talks against those groups, the media groups that are doing service, that are playing all kinds of dirty games for the government, if they criticize those people, they'll be completely made toothless by the government, because the government has such machinery to make it happen.
प्रेस काउंसिल ऑफ इंडिया ओनली प्रिंट मीडिया के लिए था, लेकिन अभी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया भी आ गया, डिजिटल मीडिया भी आ गया. हम डिमांड करता है जो मीडिया काउंसिल बनाइए, प्रेस काउंसिल छोड़कर मीडिया काउंसिल बनाइए, सारा मीडिया को मॉनिटरिंग कर सकता है.
The toothless nature of our media bodies has made them insignificant in the media scheme of things. The question remains, who will regulate our media? A new media council? The courts? Or the media itself?
सारे संस्थाओं के पास कोई भी शक्ति नहीं है. ये संस्थाएं कुछ नहीं कर सकती हैं. इनके पास कोई पावर नहीं है सिवाय प्रोटेस्ट करने के, सिवाय प्रोटेस्ट में ट्वीट करने के, रेगुलेशन के लिए. लेकिन सिर्फ रेगुलेशन तो देखने को मिल ही नहीं रहा है. तो ये कौन करेगा रेगुलेट? कोई अदालत तो नहीं कर सकती, अदालत भी नहीं पड़ती है। कुछ मामलों में अदालतों ने इंटरफेयर किया है यदि वो मामला काफी एक्सट्रीम हो जाता है, लेकिन मुझे नहीं लगता इसका ये मानना है कि मीडिया को सेल्फ रेगुलेशन ही अपने आप को करना चाहिए।
The empowering of institution is imperative, and judiciary is critical. If judiciary can look up in the eye, I mean, I know of societies, including our own neighbor, Pakistan for that matter, on certain cases they have looked up the army chief in the eye and told him that what he's doing is wrong. Brazil, for example, you have a authoritarian figure in President Bolsonaro, but the courts are very tough. They don't allow any kind of departure from the principles of law. But here it doesn't happen. I mean, you look at Kashmir, for instance, we don't have the Supreme Court getting into the abrogation of Article 370 after even 3-4 years.
Many journalists feel media must be self-regulated. Others say the citizens must hold the media accountable and call them out when fake news or propaganda is peddled. But are these solutions practical?
As citizen of India, it is our responsibility to regulate media through legal actions. If they cross line which is drawn by the constitutional duties, if they cross that particular line, then people should file against them, organizations should prosecute them.
You know, all journalists make mistakes. There's not a single journalist who's not made a mistake. So the capacity to say that I have made a mistake and let me see how I can correct it is a huge step forward.
If media starts spreading such venom, then it is disastrous for the country and it is anti-constitutional. So this can be stopped by taking legal action, criminal action against such media personalities and even the media houses.
A simple solution to the complex problem of media regulation could be to make our existing regulatory institutions free, fair, and stronger. Citizens can play a massive role in regulating the media. They can denounce media organizations that fearmongers and spread hate. They can stop offering these channels TRPs in the form of their eyeballs and attention. They can stop subscribing to those news channels. They can stop buying those newspapers. Instead, they can support independent media organizations by paying for the news they consume, so that these independent media organizations are not dependent on government and corporate advertisements for their survival. Rather, they are dependent on the public, who pay for the news they consume.
As EGI as an entity has filed 2 petitions, one was on sedition, the other one on the Pegasus. On sedition, after almost a year, they have come out with this order which will it is promising, holds promise, but still 50-50, still lots more to be done. And similarly for Pegasus, it should have asked only one question: did the government of India buy that software or not? If they think that the newspaper has to be bought, more copies should be bought, more opposition voices should be supported, more adversarial outlets need to be supported, outlets like your Probe should get more money.
जो देख के मुझे सिर पकड़ के कहता हूँ कि ये चीजें टीवी पे क्यों दिखाई जा रही है, इतना एक तरफा क्या इस चैनल ने केवल एक आंख बंद कर रखी है? क्या इस चैनल के पास कोई दूसरा व्यू नहीं है? क्या ये चैनल हिंदू मुस्लिम को लड़वाना चाहता है? क्या चैनल जो है समाज में दरार फैलाना चाहिए? रोज ऐसी सैकड़ों खबरें हैं जिसको नहीं दिखाना चाहिए, जिसको सेंसिबल तरीके से हैंडल करना चाहिए, लेकिन मोस्टली चैनल पे एक तरफा न्यूज दिखाई जाती है और उससे मुझे बड़ा दुख होता है। फाइनेंशियली इंडिपेंडेंट एक अखबार को चलाने, एक अखबार के न्यूज प्रिंट की कीमत जो है आजकल 30-35 रुपये हो गई है। यदि एक अखबार ईमानदारी से आप अपना खर्चा वसूलना चाहता है तो 30 रुपये का अखबार बचेगा, उसको अब वो आपको देता है 5 रुपये में, 4 रुपये में, तो उसको और बाकी चीजों के लिए उसको सरकार पर विज्ञापन के लिए निर्भर रहना पड़ता है। वही हाल टेलीविजन चैनल का है।
In the last 5 years, several new independent media organizations, big and small, have mushroomed in all Indian states. The burgeoning independent media companies and the rise of the breed, rather the army of independent journalists, give a much needed ray of hope to journalism in India.
I'm told by some people that independent media, some groups are getting far more subscriptions than they used to get before, and which shows that people of this country democratically minded people of this country are interested in knowing news which is different from what is being peddled by mainstream media, which is completely controlled and manipulated by people in power. So it's a good sign, and I think that's the right way forward, and I think that's the future of journalism.